Hi, just a quick introduction. I'm Ian. My coaching background is traditionally British. I'm lucky in the fact that I've worked with a variety of classes in the Olympic side and in the Paralympic side, but also as I've moved through as a freelance coach, I've worked with a number of different teams. Most interestingly, as they fall into two categories, those bigger teams and the smaller teams that have very different structures. What I'd like to do today, with assistance of translation, my two major difficulties today are going to be timing, because they're new talks, and being understood. But please stop and ask questions, whether it's Martin or Thomas's assistance or from myself, as we go through these. So I want to begin by presenting a talk which I call profiling. I guess the best way to outline what performance profiling is it's my system, it's my tool, it's my way of working with a group of athletes, an individual, in whatever class they're sailing, at whatever age group. I find it best to introduce profiling at a youth or junior age. It's very simple in its most basic form, and it's easily understood by someone in an optimist of 13 to 14 years old. A coach can run a nice non-sailing session when there's no wind, too much wind, or just in an evening when you have a group at the sailing camp to do this. And it's a really nice session because everybody's working away, and it's a workshop rather than a lecture, so it keeps all those young people awake. It could be introduced by a psychologist if you're here and you have someone working with the team, a sports psychologist. It could be introduced by you as the coach. We show the system. The most difficult thing to do is to look at our sailing and decide what we're good at, what we're not very good at, and what we need to work on. But if you're doing it for the first time with a group, you can suggest what topics you're looking at. I'll show you one in a moment. You also have to teach the group in the workshop, and as you're doing this, how to grade yourself, how to score yourself. How good am I at starting when I'm 12 years old? How do I understand how good I am? Well, we talk about the scoring system. A very high score is someone who's world championship level, winning level in your class. Someone who's zero knows nothing about that. But as you're in the workshop and you're moving around with people, you can help people to grade their ability at sailing topics. What are you good at? Are you good at starting? Are you good upwind? Are you good downwind? What is it? The idea is that you create this profile and that then you repeat the process as you're coaching the same people, and that you pass it on to the future coach in the future class when you work with them. When I'm lucky enough to work with some of the Olympic classes for some of the bigger nations who are using this system, it's very established in GBI. I'll be given the profile of an athlete and told, this is why we've hired you, this is how many days you've got, and this is what you're going to work on, because we've highlighted that this individual really needs to work on this area from their profile. And then we run future sessions doing the same thing to see how we're developing and to check that as a coach, the sailors use the profile to show me what they need to work on, and that I'm delivering the appropriate training and sessions for them to develop in that area, to feel they're moving forward and gaining confidence. A complete map, a picture of what a young sailor thinks they can do and they can't do, and where they feel they need to work and develop. These can be used by the coach in the future. Now, is this a good moment to ask questions. Anybody got any questions or need any translations?
Jsem na začátku mluvil o tom, že je hrozně důležitý s těma svěřencema si udělat vůbec nějaký systém ohodnocování těch svěřenců, o tom, že v podstatě ty lidi, tak aby byl dál přenositelný k dalším koukům, tak on v podstatě dostal tady tu tabulku, kde ty lidi jednak ty svěřenci a jednak ten trenér dohromady si nějaký prostě jako seanci před tím samotným tréninkem a před tím samotným jako vůbec trénovacím obdobím vůbec řeknou, na čem je třeba pracovat, kdo jak se v jakých oblasti těch jaktařských jako dovedností, jakým způsobem se jako sám ohodnocuje a kde, na čem je potřeba prostě pracovat, kdo má jaký slabiny a kdo má jaký jako výhody nebo silné stránky. Jo. A že je hrozně důležité, aby prostě ty samotní svěřenci, zrovna tak jako ten trenér, si uvědomovali vlastně to, na čem mají pracovat, aby to celé bylo jako systematický v tom, že prostě nebudou všichni dělat všechno, že prostě každý z těch nebude mít úplně individuální trénink, ale budou vědět vlastně, na čem mají jako do budoucna pracovat. A k tomu zjištění vůbec funguje právě třeba jeden z takovýchhle formulářů, kde si ty, ať už trenéři nebo ty svěřenci vlastně napíšou v těch jednotlivých částech, kde se sami sebe hodnotí s tím, že 10 je mistr světa, 0 je člověk, který v tom sedí poprvé.
We're able to, this is taken from a book, the Jim Salton School Race Training Manual. We're also able to get them blank off the internet quite easily. They're used in the business world. If I had my second year with the same group and they were now familiar with the process, I would hand out 2 or 3 blank targets with no columns and allow the sailors to think about, in a workshop style, what the aspects were to make 20 or 30 aspects of their sailing to get more detail, not just starting, for example, but starting at the pin and starting at the starboard end. And I would elaborate as time went on to get more detail about the individuals and to get them more confident in analysing what they're good at and in telling us what they're good at.
Tenhle ten samý systém se dá prostě použít potom v dalším časovém horizontu, dejme tomu měsíců nebo i let, kdy na začátku je dobrý teda dát asi těm svěřencům prostě takhle předvyplněné formuláře, které jsou jasně napsané jako ty jednotlivé segmenty, nicméně potom už v podstatě můžete jim dát víceméně úplně prázdný papír, aby se sami zamysleli nad tím, anebo rozvinuli dál tu myšlenku, jako třeba na začátku to máte napsáno, myslím, je startování nebo není a to se vlastně dá rozvinout do dalších podkategorií, prostě startování upinu nebo startování v lodě, nebo sami si můžou v podstatě vytvořit potom ty svěřenci, kolonky, prostě, kde si sami přijdou na něco v průběhu toho tréninku, že prostě to je zrovna ta věc, na který by se dalo pracovat. To by měl být jako začátek a potom v nějakým dalším časovém horizontu je dobrý si s nima znovu sednout, znovu udělat takovou jako systematickou věc, už ale s prázdnýma položkama, který oni si sami vyplňují.
Thanks. The target, the profile at whatever age, is how the coach knows exactly what the sailors can and can't do without having to spend months of work with them learning their strengths and weaknesses, and it's a shortcut to moving forward. Always taking them home as a coach, spending time looking through them, perusing them, using them to give feedback to the sailors as to what you think relative. You might look at a sailor and see that they're being really tough on themselves on one aspect, but you think they're better. And you can take the time to talk to them, to understand why they feel they're at the stage they're at, and to make sure that it's fairly graded. Remote feedback. We're really lucky now. When I started coaching, we'd only just got mobile telephones. Now with the technology we have to use the computers, we have to use the phones to give constant input and reminders to the sailors, the athletes, that whether you have a chance to sit with your group or your individual, or whether it's on the computer, you can give them feedback on what you're seeing. Where you look at the targets and a lot of sailors are saying they're good at the same things or weak at the same things, you use that to plan your future sessions. Your future training sessions are planned knowing what areas you need to work on. In the youth and junior aspect, you also are probably going to have a curriculum. You're going to have a number of topics that on an annual basis you know you need to discuss and work on in training. And if you feel that there's a common weakness in the group, that's going to help you to improve the curriculum and to work harder or in a different way in a particular area, because the profilers highlighted this.
Je důležitý znejít si s nima stanovit cíle a v podstatě na těch cílích pracovat s těma dětma nejenom pokaždé, když s nima jdete v podstatě z vody nebo na vodu a mělo by se to v podstatě provádět takovým způsobem spíš toho workshopu, kde oni se toho hrozně moc účastní. Mělo by to být jako profilování ve škole, kde oni prostě sedí, poslouchají, že by toho debaty byly hrozně zúčastnění. Dneska už v podstatě vy se s nima můžete bavit, aniž byste s nima byli na závodech. Když vás tak nevíde, že se znamená, s nimi jíst nemůžete, nebo to takovým podstatě tím moderním komunikačním, kdy můžete dávat zpátky ten feedback neustále i když prostě s nimi jíst takový, a poslední věc bylo o tom, že když zjistíte, že celý vaše trénovací skupince jeden z těch cílů není jako obecně naplňovaný, tak díky tomu trošku jako víte díky této feedbacku, tak si můžete naplánovat dopředu celou moderní trénink pro celou tu skupinku.
Thank you. This example that I'm going to show you is with the Paralympic scud boat. An example of trying to introduce the profile to older sailors. Crew in his 50s, Helm, pretty old, my age, but having never profiled themselves in a sporting aspect before. Being older, being new to profiling, they found it very difficult to grade themselves out of 10 and to say, I'm really good at it, I'm 8, 9, or we really don't know anything about this topic, I'm 2 or 3. Instead, we introduced 3 colours. Green, I'm good enough at it. I've been to Class World Championships, we don't really need to work on this aspect. Orange, it's okay, but we need to polish this up. Red, it's alarmingly bad, and we need to stop what we're doing and really work on it. I can show you a profile from these guys. Going forwards. As the sailors get older, as they're developing, as they're more comfortable with the idea, I move into an Excel spreadsheet. That allows me to have the aspects clearly defined and the wind speed. Now you can't read that, can you?
Zrovna tak jako u těch, když byste trénovali starší, nebo kdyby před vám přišel někdo, kdo vlastně tady to profilování nedělal, tak u těch starších, jak tady, tak se mu osvědčilo to, že v podstatě ty jednotlivé segmenty toho výkonnosti ohodnotoval spíš barvama, nebo pro ně to bylo jako starší, prostě hodnotit zelenou, oranžovou, červenou. A to celé si potom hodil v podstatě do nějakého spreadsheetu, do nějakého Excelu, že vidí, jak oni se jako vylepšují v těch oblastech. Tohle je teda konkrétní profil, konkrétní lidí.
Working at a higher level with older sailors, or having the benefit of having less boats or only one boat, it gives you the beauty of being able to have a meeting and sit down and do it with the team, discussing helm and crew, what they think their level is in each area, with coach input, and creating it. This is one of their earlier profiles where they were unable to give numbers, but we used the traffic light system. I then show you down the profile. We talk about starting, strategy, tactics, technique, tuning, boat handling maneuvers, moving on to the rules, preparation, mental skills, etc. Now, I have a number of these profiles for different classes. It's very easy to tailor it for a laser dinghy, same as a radial, to tailor it for another class. But it's a very nice way to highlight what aspects you're happy with, what needs working on, and what's really alarming and needs the most work most immediately. The good news is this team, by the end of their 2012 campaign, were more comfortable with the tool and were grading themselves in numbers. What we were able to do with this tool was to shape the campaign, less so in a youth and junior aspect, because you have a group and you have a curriculum of what you need to cover on an annual basis at each age and make sure they're prepared. But as the sailors are getting older and they're doing Olympic, Paralympic in the past campaigns, it's more tailored to that individual. And it's this profile that helps me to decide what we're going to work on any given day or any given period of training.
A to je zopakování toho, jako předvedení toho, jak tenhle ten profil konkrétní jako fungoval, kdy oni teda v průběhu času potom přešli z těchto barevných stupnic normálně už jako na čísla, protože už si na to jako zvykli, ale jako asi si všimnete, jak moc věcí v tom je rozepsaných a jak moc detailně jsou vlastně v skutečnosti rozepsaný a oni na tom jako na tomhle profilu pracují furt kolem dokola a vlastně v tom znovu vidějí prostě jakoby jednak vědí, na co se mají zaměřit a druhá vědí, to vědí teda jednak vědí ty trenéři a vědí to i ty svěřenci, na co se mají zaměřit a druhá jako vidí, jestli v tom mají nebo nemají nějaký jako posun. Když nebyli ani schopni v podstatě letzdy učit prostě hlavní těma modelama, tak si to zpočátku tam v podstatě jako psali jako slovní hodnocení.
I've been using this tool since I was forced to use it by the British system. I was cynical when I started. I realised with my youth squads through the late 90s how useful it was and how well they developed. And as I've worked in that system and with other teams, I've tried my hardest to improve the tool as much as possible.